longer be infants. So I think you can draw kind of a mathematical equation. I like math, so let's do it. We can do like a mathematical equation for no longer being infants. And here's point number one. You need leaders. This is not on your note sheet. This is just bonus information. I could talk about this passage all day long, but I don't have the time. I'm not going to, but we're going to cover just a little bit. The first thing you need is leaders, okay? Leaders plus, look at the next thing. Paul gives this warning that as infants we'll be tossed around by every wind of teaching, but instead we can speak the truth in love. So put both of those down. You've got leaders plus truth plus love. And then there's one more thing. At the very end of this section it says, from him the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. The fourth thing there is participation. So if you have leadership in your life, if you have people willing to speak truth in your life, if you have people who are willing to love you in your life, loving you with truth, and you're willing to participate rather than run away, you're willing to participate rather than spectate, you're willing to get dirty, get involved, get to be a part of this thing, the end result is you will no longer be infants. You will grow. Now, why do we emphasize that people try to make church attendance a priority? Why is that a deal? Because we are convinced that if you're in a place where there's leadership, truth, love, and your ability to participate, growth is going to happen. You see that? That is a promise from God. That's a promise from God. I wish I had the time to talk about this stuff today, but I don't. We are instead going to key in on something right in the middle of this passage on leadership in Ephesians. Notice right in the middle there are two things going on. One is bad and one is good. The bad thing is when we are tossed around by every wind of teaching. The good thing is when we begin to speak the truth in love. Right in the center of our spiritual growth is the question of whose voice are you going to listen to? Whose voice are you going to pay attention to? We're going to look at a passage written by a guy who loves people, by a guy who knows what it means for him to be loved by God. The Apostle John was known as the one whom Jesus loved. He understood love deeply, and it was his heart's desire to make sure the people he spoke to understood three things. That they understood, number one, that Jesus was God in the flesh. Number two, that by believing on him, you would have life. And that number three, all other options lead to destruction. And so John writes in his letter at the end of the Bible, when he's writing a personal letter to people that he loved, he begins to address this idea of whose voice are you going to listen to. It's in 1 John chapter 2. If you've got our Bibles, it's on page 845. Let me ask you to turn there right now. We're going to be looking at a portion inside a larger section. If you're going to study this week, the section begins in verse 20 and goes through chapter 3, verse 3. But today we're going to start right in the middle at verse 26. Right in the middle at verse 26. The Apostle John is writing this and he says, I am writing these things. Everything in the book, and especially the things we're just about to talk about. I'm writing these things to you about those who are trying to lead you astray. There are voices in this world that want to lead you astray. And before John can talk about anything else, as John is thinking through the issues of our personal spiritual growth, he has to address this issue, that if you follow the wrong voice, your whole life can be derailed. You will be derailed if you follow the wrong voice. That's what John is trying to say here. I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen for you. You'll be derailed if you follow the wrong voice. And the problem is there are a lot of voices out there. It's hard to know which voice to pay attention to. John's going to give us some ideas here in just a moment. But I just want to draw your attention to something that you already know. It's pretty obvious, actually. I mean, we are just inundated with voice after voice after voice. Recently, I went on a personal boycott of the website MySpace because the voices that were coming out of MySpace were just too irritating. Every time you open up MySpace, it's covered with advertisements. And all these ads want you to do something for them. And some of the ads I just was so offended by and irritated by and frustrated by that I hacked my browser to not show them anymore. But I also just don't go to the website anymore. But I decided to go there yesterday just to pick up a screenshot. And here it is. Here are all these voices that they want you to hear. The voice of Jim Jones live on stage. You can go to myspace.com/hiphop. Or you can get a free show that way. Or you can play and chat on MySpace games. These are all the voices of people who want to get you to hang out with them. What about this voice? MSN has a whole heap of voices. Every time you go to some of these websites, your eyes get smashed in the face with all kinds of things like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Who's talking to me? Oh, free trial. Let's do that one. Or what about this one? Oprah's got a great voice. And everybody loves Oprah's voice. But I thought this was interesting right here. This lady right here, Jean Chatzky, says there are 8 things wealthy women do. Sorry, men. If you want to be rich, Jean doesn't have anything to say to you. But her voice is pretty clear that she will give you their secrets. The secrets of wealthy women, because we all know there's a secret to making money. Right? What about earn and don't spend? That's a good secret. But then how real people are using Jean's strategies to get rich. Read an excerpt from her new financial guide. Do you have the traits of a millionaire? Yeah, I got the traits of a millionaire. I just don't have any of the cash. Like, so, what? Yeah, I've got 2 arms and 2 legs, right? I got all the traits of a millionaire. I just, minus 1, like the number. What about this voice? I want to ask you to do something here. Pull out your cell phone. No, seriously, I know most of you have a cell phone, okay? And then do whatever you got to do to look at the most recent calls you've got. And some of you are laughing. Why are you laughing? You know where this is going? Look at your recent calls here and just kind of scroll down there. I want you to take a look at the voices that come into your head. And what do these voices have to say to you?